Exactly. And so we're jumping into this game, number 3 of this exciting series we've had so far. It is Puppypaw spawning in this southern side as the Ottoman, going for the opening that we'd expect. And who else do we got?
On the north, on the color blue, we have SortOf going for the standard opening on the French after the two fantastically well played games. Maybe he can take game number 3. Maybe Puppypaw will take game number 3. We're about to see. I'm really excited, regardless, for this match.
Ooh, and honestly, okay, this is a little bit, a little bit much, but I'm shocked he didn't put the military school up front. Like, I get the idea that you want to protect your military school and you don't want your production up front and having everything. Just it would be a lot of space, but the main reason being is everyone loves putting the twin minaret madrasa right on this side of your town center, because then the berry bushes that spawn are right next to your town center, the hardest to raid, the easiest for your villagers to jump inside, and the quickest and best ability and best safety there. So a little bit of a one little kind of pointer that I would make that I always like to see, especially when you're going against a aggressive civ such as the French or English with their longbows. This would protect that from the longbow range, especially when you think about if it's on this side, your berry villagers are going to be all the way out towards the edge of town center range.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that I also would agree that that military school should have been a little bit closer to the berries, maybe. But something I've noticed with the pros, especially in the early game, is they just throw down the building the closest where they are to minimize the villager idle time. Which, I get it, it's really, really important, but at the same time, this military school later on is going to be a bit of a pain to build around, because he then needs to throw down a blacksmith, the other military schools, his production buildings. He has a lot of space, but he needs to get rid of the berries, and he won't, and like you said, he won't have a safe minaret madrasa if he ever gets raided by knights.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I don't think about a ton while I'm playing until after I place it and I'm like, oh, shoot. But while I'm watching, it's much easier to point out. And I think about it more too ever since I was watching Beastie, and he was talking about, I forgot what it was, maybe it was the difference between a Conk 1 and a Conk 3 or something of the sort. I think it was that video, and he was talking about French and the layout of their base, and he was kind of mentioning that even French, which is not a civ I think about much about base layout, but he was like, oh, the stable should have been here, the archer range should have been here, the house should have been this way, because then the keep has the perfect spot in the middle, protecting resources and reducing the cost of. And I was like, oh wow, like that's not something I think about, but it's something that definitely is a small thing that can help elevate you to the next level. But Puppypaw might also have been going a little bit greedier here with this, and maybe just wants to use this as an actual mill drop-off location as well.
Yeah, that's a little bit closer to the berries than I would expect it, because the problem with this is whenever your villagers that are harvesting the berries on the right side, they will finish the first two good berries under the landmark, and then they will go for the next closest berry, which is that little one on the berry patch. So he will need to keep an eye on that after he puts these food villagers in there, because that's going to be a problem unless he just puts a bunch of food villagers, because he's probably going to go for Sipahi and Spearmen, so he's going to need a lot of food. We'll see how it plays out though.
Yep. And one thing we will do notice is SortOf gets pushed off the gold, but it had enough for one singular night production. You might not think like that's much, but one single night can cause just massive reactions, everything like that, and already dropping that archery range down to go ahead and push out those spears and then reclaim the gold. So good job by SortOf with this early build, not overreacting. He just let those vills take some damage, still continue to gather up, didn't cause too much idle time. Knight comes out, charge comes in, is able to hit that first spear. He takes a bit of damage, but cleans up the first spear, second spear, running on away. Gonna see another trade out of SortOf.
Yeah, this is, the point of that first knight is to drive away the spears. I do not like that he stood there on farm with them, because now that knight is just one spear away from death. But he needed to get back into his goal, so I understand why he did it. Just not particularly happy the way he did it.
Yeah, the first spear,
Because you got
he
that.
played it well, but the second one, he just took straight up. The first one, he was able to get charged as they were running away, but I would have, at the second spear, I would have just waited for the archer, maybe played a little bait game, push-pull, and now has an archer to protect up the spear for the time being, and just really needs to make sure, you know, with the APM that he has, that I know he has as well, just make sure to keep that knight alive and at that constant edge, which running through stealth forest could be risky.
Yeah. That knight is almost dead. It's like one spear. Yeah.
And
Ooh.
the second archer coming on up. This is the point where you go ahead and you throw that knight in your town center and just wait until you get chivalry.
Yeah, you need to protect this knight.
knight.
Your first knight is incredibly valuable. Your second knight is also super valuable. So you really need to protect their HP, because now that knight is completely useless. It's the same if that knight is dead, because you can't dive a TC, you can't dive a wood line, you cannot do anything with that because it's gonna die instantly regardless. You just need to take him back, which is he's doing right now. Forget about him until you heal it back up.
Yep, and especially when the Sipahi come out. If the Sipahi runs, they're going to be able to chase down that knight as well, get some extra damage on it, not let the chivalry bonus activate. So really, you know, solid job by actually pulling it back. And the next knight comes out. First knight was not able to get any actual long-term damage, did just push back the spears and reclaim gold.
Look at the 2-minute address from Puppypaw. This is exactly what I was talking about. The first two berries run out, and then the villagers went into the normal berries because they're closer than the ones on the other side. He needs to notice this and fix it as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's one of the things, like this twin minaret madrasa, it gives you so much food. It's just, I swear, it's one of those things where like Ottoman, you're like, you seriously only have 9 vills on food? And you're like, yes. Like, that is the power of the twin minaret madrasa and military schools. But Puppypaw, not utilizing that power right now.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Again, we go back to the first military school being placed down. Like, it's in a very awkward spot. Yes, he put it down fast, and he got the spearman out fast. But, he noticed. Now he's moving the villagers back. Good. But it screwed up your 2 minaret placement, and he had that problem with the berries.
Puppypaw going with a western side wall. I will say, with double military schools so far and not a ton of production buildings, this is a little bit of a kind of longer term payoff for him, and that's the reason why SortOf, the military numbers, they're basically even, but SortOf's value is going to be higher due to those French knights. Good brace coming in, but Archer's able to snipe down that spear, and let's see if the wall that is being built gets spotted out. More reinforcements are coming in. The problem with French that you end up getting as these masses get bigger, and a Sipahi raids comes in on the backside, is your knights struggle to protect the archers from Sipahi because the spears close in on it and get on top of your archers as well.
Yeah, this is the problem of Ottoman versus French. Like we were discussing earlier, just once if you can't quite one-shot those spears, they can just move into your knights, and then your archers get it, and the knights need to retreat. Then your archers get exposed to the Sipahi, and it's awful for you.
Yeah, really great micro by Puppypaw during that. SortOf, he was doing his best to micro it, trying to keep his knights alive, which he was doing well at first, but then just took one slight misstep, lost a knight, or took some extra damage on the other ones, pushing away a scout out of his base. And Puppypaw, you know, while he did, you know, take some aggression, he had some return aggression on some deer, idled a little bit. He's down 3 vills, but military schools are online, and having 2 military schools right now and not too much damage, as French already produce a little bit faster than you from the TC, that, you know, Puppypaw still, I feel like, finding himself at a pretty fine situation.
Yeah, Puppypaw is in a fine situation. He's getting enough stone for the next military school and a second TC. because he feels safe. He has 3 production building plus 2 military schools. He's on his opponent's side of the map, so he's completely safe. He knows that SortOf is the one to be defensive, and you never want to be the defensive one as French.
Yeah, at least it's not kind of full on defensive, building walls and you know, all out, you know, trying to boom defense, but it is kind of having to fall back to your side, remass back up. Second range is being dropped, and as I mentioned earlier, it actually looks like SortOf is planning this perfect layout for a keep drop right here, reduce the cost of the ranges and the stables.
Yeah, that's a really good. It's really good thinking for the future. He can drop a mining camp on the side, so he can just place down a keep as soon as he can. And that's really, really important. That's one of the biggest strengths that you have as French, is just the discounted knights and arbaletier.
Yep.
Because they're such powerful units, they're the strongest knights and crossbows in the game, and getting them cheaper is so good.
SortOf circling around, making sure there isn't any sort of funky business trade going around with this knight, and also trying to just, you know, get a nice circle, stay out of vision. His main mass is sitting up further and further forward, but I said it, French always hesitates to make spears. They need spears in this matchup. You have to be able to protect your archers from Sipahi diving in on them to be able to let your knights do what they actually need to do, which is damage and run around and get onto the units that they need to. Well, with this is way too many Sipahi for knights to be able to dive. Raid coming in on the other side, getting 1.5 villagers, but some extra return damage, and SortOf looks away, loses a knight, and is going to lose a second knight as well.
Yeah, because he was getting raided on his side of the map too. He garrisoned all the villagers inside the tower, but there are too many Sipahis, and they're just gonna clean up all 5 villagers and then just run away from that knight.
Yep. All 5 vills going down. They could potentially circle the knight and maybe trade with it if they wanted, but the second knight coming, that's not a good trade for the Sipahi. They're just going to fall back away, and the problem for SortOf is their mobility on those Sipahi. He can't kill those. He can't easily deal with those other than building walls and getting enough of a ball that Puppy says, all right, I can't pressure with those. I need to have those Sipahi in the fight, but as we say that, another set of 8 Sipahi are going out the western side. So he's just going to have 2 different little raiding parties coming in from either side, just constantly distracting, constantly annoying SortOf.
Yeah, Puppypaw is being very active with his Sipahi. He's controlling 2 groups and staying safe at home with a bunch of spears, so he cannot get raided by knights, while he's keeping SortOf attention all over the place.
Yep, and SortOf investing in not only a wall, but an outpost behind that wall as well, going in to protect the next set of deer that he's about to move on to, and moving back onto the back berry. So triple food resources that are going to be walled up behind this. But look at what Puppypaw's doing. He's running right past around the other side and just going to go to that exact spot with 8 Sipahi. If it worked once, if it worked twice, I assure you he's going to be coming back for a 3rd time. And that's exactly what he's doing. And he is finding success because SortOf, again, he thinks he's good. And that's 5 more vills immediately getting taken down. Puppypaw made to surround before he A-moved. That way he could get the most damage as possible down, still raiding more villagers, making sure that they have some struggling pathing issues, getting his Sipahi in front of them before they can easily get into their outpost. And oh my gosh, there's a hole in the wall because of a deer, and Puppypaw could technically go and kill those other 5 vills. But SortOf is using this time to try to put pressure, burn through the wall in the backside of Puppy's base, force a reaction, and Puppypaw has a second TC behind all this as well, so is finding himself up 11 villagers.
Yeah, Puppypaw has been playing such a great game. He got his second TC a while ago, and he's been constantly harassing SortOf and killing villagers left and right. He's killed 12 villagers so far, and that probably is going to keep going up. And while having a good enough army back at home to defend whatever SortOf might throw at him.
Yeah.
And look at that. So many villagers on the berries. Those berries are going to deplete so fast.
Yeah, exactly. And this is one of those things I find pro people do. It's like they'll get a good couple trades, and then it's like, all right, do I want to try to end the game and all in, or do I want to be more kind of economic and trust my longer term skills and go with the second TC, or just kind of say, hey, you know I did enough damage. I know I can finish this game. Well, Puppy goes, all right, I know I did enough damage. I can drop that TC. I have these military schools online, so I'm still going to constantly be able to match the military numbers. I've walled up my economy, walled up my safety, and I have the ability to do this while still outmatching the military on the other side. And raid after raid after raid have just been so successful. Look at the freaking resources in the bank for Puppypaw. When you have under 100 of every single resources in the bank, that means you're doing something right at the 15-minute mark and have, 110 population.
Yeah, absolutely. If I was in this game, I would be floating at least 500 of each resources, including stone in feudal age.
Yeah, and well, if not, let's say I wasn't floating resources, you'd also be seeing 18 Sapahi in queue and like 6 techs just waiting to be done because I was like, oh crap, I have way too many resources, let me spend them all. But no, Puppy, he has 1 tech in queue, he still has normal military in queue, he's not overproducing out of buildings really, and just producing what he needs to. So just unbelievable macro by Puppypaw, and I think this just shows you how, like, good of a game. Like, if you're good at macro in this game, it can just elevate you so much higher to the next level, and Puppypaw is showing that here.
Yeah, this is absolutely showing the difference between a top player and a top player. Like, SortOf is fantastic. He's really good at the game, but Puppypaw is just at a complete different level.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable job here, just constantly push and pulling SortOf all around the map. And behind this, Puppypaw has doubled the military numbers of SortOf, and SortOf's at 2/3 of the eco now of what Puppy has. Transitioning into farms as French. Oh no.
Yeah, that's something you really do not want to see as French, at least 20 minutes into the game, with all the map resources having gone. But he's been forced by Puppypaw to keep all his knights on the defensive side, so he can't secure map control, and that just means he's forced to go into farms.
Yep. Mass of archers find a couple of Sapahis. They're at the point where if those Sapahis aren't in a big enough group, the archers will just kind of take those out for not anything in return. And Puppypaw's, honestly, I would expect him to start idling in a little bit and going up to Castle Age. He has so much military. He's caused so much of a he's done so well defending everything. He has so much eco behind this that forcing French into a Castle Age fight, that French, the only really benefit that they're going to get if they go Royal Institute is going to be those Royal Bloodline Knights, but he has more than enough in his arsenal to deal with that.
Yeah, at this point, he sort of really needs some miracle raid or something, which is kind of, Puppypaw on top of it, just pulls the villagers right on time.
Yep, comes back to the other side that he thought he had burnt through. That being said, there's 4 villagers outside the wall gathering some deer, running back through the gate every time they want to give their civs some food to continue to build on up.
Yeah, this is really rough. There are 43 spearmen for Puppypaw. 43. That's way more than completely demolish all the knights from SortOf.
Yeah, for that many spearmen is just a scary sight to see. Usually you only see like that out of like the Abbasid. The chop through is massive, so some raids will be coming in, forcing Puppypaw to pull back some of that massive military, but he can easily split it into 2 different groups, protect up the raid, protect up the right side, and shouldn't be any big deal. SortOf having to, keep his main military mass at home other than his small raiding parties because he's afraid of the same exact thing. And what does Puppy do? He's going up with the Mehmed Imperial Armory behind this, just how I was expecting. So we'll force this into a Castle Age that French will just be fully outclassed in, especially being down 25 eco.
Yeah, at this point, as soon as he reaches Castle Age, he gets the bonus from the blacksmith, the extra 8% production speed or so. Plus, he can start producing crossbows from the military schools and maybe knights if he got the vizier point, which seems he hasn't yet. And at this point is when French is like, okay, I need to do something right now or I'm going to lose this game. And
usually that's when they overstep a little bit with the knights and you get to that point where you go, oh crap, I have lost too many knights and there's no way back in the game. But look at what SortOf has done behind this. He has a villager in the southernmost corner building stables.
I mean, that stable can do a lot of work, but at the same time, that's a bit hopeful, to say the least.
Yeah, it's just is gonna like kind of nullify the effect of walls if he's able to just continue to trickle in knights every now and then. Puppy's just gonna like think he's losing his mind, just being like, what the heck? I thought I cleared all the knights in my base. Let me fully, wall all the way around. I thought I fixed the chop through, whatever it may be. And it wasn't a chop through, it was sort of chopping through now that I think about it. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together until now. It was that villager who came up and did that. But SortOf having to fall back now that Castle Age is out, now that some Castle Age's upgrades are coming through, as you already see, veteran archer, veteran spearman, veteran Sipahi. And this is when all 3 of those upgrades come through, Puppy just A moves and says game over.
Yeah. As soon as all those upgrades are just coming through, and he's just gonna go into the French base and kill everything because he's gonna have Castle Age units which completely counter what everything Puppy has.
And here we go, first clash going in. Sipahi dive in. They actually go in on a good amount of spears, so initial clash goes towards SortOf, but obviously there just seems to be too much here, and upgrades are on Puppy's side. Knights circle back around, haven't been able to do any damage during this fight, haven't been able to do anything, while archers in the background as well as the Metter having some bonus damage and even a few Janissaries to help clean up the Knights. Puppy has thought of it all, and he is just dominating this game. And yes, an Ottoman favored matchup, but just showing us how strong he can end up being. And SortOf down to 9 military, he realizes nothing he can do. Puppy 2-1.